recording. First question, what is your livelihood, your role? Short description of what kind of work you do, 10 to 15 sentences approximately.
Okay. Well, if I was writing this, it would be much easier because I could count how many sentences.
I mean, it's not. You can go like
Sometimes,
however
yeah.
short you want.
Okay. Well, if I actually tell you what's my real livelihood, you'll laugh.
I won't.
No, I'm a comedian. That's the whole point, to make you laugh. No, I mean, that's what I've been doing now. I do like the media film stuff mostly. And I've been weaving it into permaculture the past 5-6 years. I have a bunch of practical experience too, but I don't really like the label of like farmer, gardener, all that kind of stuff because, I don't know. I think it's more of like the connotation of those words. But I do those things too. I do those things as well. And I also teach a lot of permaculture courses. I do some consultations, permaculture consultations. So I make designs with other people. Not for other people, with other people. That's the whole idea. So the designer aspect of my livelihood is a challenge because when people hire someone, they want to have somebody do it for them, but with them is kind of the important part. Now I'm developing a show about permaculture now, so hopefully it'll take off. It's like first it's going to start off as like a live show, then maybe it'll go into film. But I also have a web series, you can check it out on YouTube. Well, I have permaculture videos, like funny little permaculture videos, on the account called Earth to Mihael, but I also have just like a regular sitcom. It's like 4 minutes. I make like one video a month or something. I have like 11 episodes.
Cool. All right. How does your work align with permaculture ethics?
Well, I make sure that I'm very low impact in terms of just like the amount of resources I put into a given task. So, for example, I'm not like building a giant solar panel field somewhere. I'm planting trees, so I'm planting more than 1,000 trees a year sometimes. Last year I planted 1,000 trees in maybe like 3 days in Turkey. That was crazy. That kind of took care of my year allotment. And I also have to travel for work a lot, so I make sure that I travel in a way that doesn't burn so much petrol. It doesn't exclude flying because sometimes flying is actually, if I'm one person, so that flight's gonna happen anyway. So and I always try to calculate my petrol footprint. But anyway, that's a side note. If I had the opportunity to do backspace right now, I would. But I also focus a lot on people care because I feel like people's time should be respected. So I think because originally professionally I am educated in film and arts and performance, I understand that people's time should be respected and people should be engaged in whatever happens in an assembly. So taking that and becoming a permaculture teacher out of that, I think people are really engaged and immersed when they come to my workshops because of just that element that I always keep in mind, that it's part of people care to respect their time. So you have to make it worth their time to sit there and listen to you talk about permaculture endlessly. And so that's really important. And also, there's many other aspects of people care as well, which I think comedy helps with because of the fact that you can take on large social themes without offending anybody. Or when you offend somebody, you could be like, nothing's sacred in comedy, come on, seriously. And also a fair share. Well, I live in a former communist country, so, we're very aware of what fair share is now. Fair share, return of the surplus, I don't really have much surplus in my life to return. Really, like I make very little bit of money doing what I do, and I think a lot of the reason. Maybe this is actually another question, so let's move on. Yeah.
How does your work align with the principles of permaculture?
Okay. Well, given that there's like a lot of principles.
Just pick a few that you might.
Okay, well, Bill Mollison starts his book with, when I was young, no one had just one job. And I think I've aligned that in myself. I don't do just one thing. I have many different skill sets and many different things that I go to for work. And my work is also quite seasonal. For example, in the spring and summer, well, this early spring is a really active period for me because it's basically I'm just throwing myself into permaculture activities. So it could be some sort of workshop. I've taught a lot of people how to sew teepees. I actually sew teepees myself. I sell them. I sell teepees. So that's more of like a summer, fall thing for me. I get all the bookings for the teepees in the early spring, and then in the summer when it gets hot and can't really do anything in the garden, I'm sitting around sewing teepees. And then like a winter function of mine is usually teaching English, teaching indoor workshops, or just performing, or just sort of putting on a show somewhere. So it's more like a winter activity. So I guess my work is very seasonal. It's very diverse. I'm trying to cover as many of the sectors of economy as possible in 1 year. So for example, I try to be like a raw producer on some sense of something. So I have a garden, I grow my own food, that's raw producing. I try to process, so do like secondary production, which is like I guess the teepees. We'll add to that because I'm taking a raw material and I'm making it into something that somebody can use. So, and then I also have a tertiary function, which is teaching. And then I guess the fourth function would be just entertainment. So I try to cover all those bases in one season, and it's usually organized seasonally.
Okay, what percentage of your income would you say that you earn from permaculture?
I would say half.
Half?
About 50%. Yeah.
Alright. And what's your
If you count the teepees. If teepees count as permaculture, then that's
You
half.
count them as permaculture.
I count them as permaculture, yeah. That's half.
What's your best advice for someone entering a permaculture-based livelihood? For example, the most challenging parts, or how do you build momentum?
I guess a permaculture-based livelihood is well, you can't really be like a worker with a permaculture-based livelihood. You kind of have to have entrepreneurial skills. Like that is absolutely essential. So if you don't really know how to run a business, then or like how to like discipline yourself enough to do work on your own initiative, then don't bother following a permaculture livelihood. You might as well just be working at a factory pressing a button all day, because it requires a lot of creative thinking and it requires a lot of work outside of the framework in which you're getting paid. So for example, you're going to make an agreement to get paid for a certain amount of time to do a certain amount of thing, but that comes with the understanding that you're going to be doing much more than you're getting paid for. And these are all things that you have to understand and you have to actually be willing to do. So if you're not willing to do that, if you just want a job, then get a job. Don't bother following a permaculture livelihood. It's just you're not gonna do it right. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say on the topic of livelihoods and permaculture?
I think everybody can make their livelihood very permaculture. I think they shouldn't fear money. I think they should just be smart with money. Like maybe I'll go into what I was saying